Well, never a man to shy away from an argument. The West Midlands MEP Bill Etheridge resigned from UKIP recently to join the Libertarian Party. He said UKIP had become a vehicle of hate towards the Muslim and gay communities. The Birmingham Yardley MP Jess Phillips said she'd always thought he was a bit of a racist himself. So I'll be speaking to Mr Etheridge about that after Rob Mayer has reminded us of his controversial political career.
I would like to make an apology. I recently caused a stir by referring to members of the Labour Party as morons and imbeciles, amongst other things. I want to take this opportunity to apologise to all morons and imbeciles everywhere.
Never one to mince his words, Bill Etheridge MEP. He hit the headlines in 2011 after posting this picture on Facebook. He said a protest against political correctness, but he was suspended by the Conservative Party and then resigned. He found a natural home in UKIP and stood for Crime Commissioner in 2012, coming fourth. Success did follow with the UKIP surge in 2014, a double victory, a seat in the European Parliament and on Dudley Council. Despite failure to follow up with a parliamentary success in Dudley North the following year, the platform was set for the EU referendum campaign, a campaign which sparked anger from some.
Disreputable playing of the race and immigration card by Bill, you and UKIP has divided this country, and as a consequence we are seeing a shameful rise in racial violence. I don't know how you sleep at night.
Well, that's absolute nonsense. The kind of thing I would expect from you and the Labour Party.
The police are saying it. The police are saying it.
Controversy has never been far away. On the 50th anniversary of Enoch Powell's Rivers of Blood speech, Mr Etheridge called for a blue plaque to commemorate the former Wolverhampton South West MP. And earlier this month, he posted a Facebook video with these comments about former English Defence League leader Tommy Robinson.
I think Tommy Robinson makes a really valuable contribution towards public life, highlights a lot of really important issues. I don't always agree with how he goes about it and the wording, but I think his voice is important.
But the love affair with UKIP is over. One of Nigel Farage's biggest supporters, he's been critical of his successors and had more than one attempt at the leadership himself. He resigned from the party earlier this month, saying it had become a vehicle of hate towards Muslims and the gay community. That sparked surprise from last week's Sunday Politics guest, the Labour MP, Jess Phillips.
So farewell, Bill Etheridge?
Farewell, Bill Etheridge. I personally think he was a bit of a racist, so I'm sort of stunned that he thinks he's leaving because of racism.
Must leave it there.
Bill Etheridge will see out his last few months as an MEP with the Libertarian Party, campaigning for an end to the EU, income tax and the scrapping of HS2.
Rob Mayer, and we're also joined here today by the man himself, the Libertarian Party's only parliamentarian. Not so much farewell, Bill Etheridge, as hello again, Bill Etheridge. But let's consider why Jess Phillips, who's not a bird of your political feather, but like you, she says it like she sees it. Let's consider why she forms that view. And I would suggest to you that just to start with that picture of you with that doll, for Jess and many others like her, would be evidence enough, because at a sort of dog whistle politics level, it's sending out a signal, not just about political correctness, but about your attitudes to race.
Well, having gone through this ad infinitum for the last 7 or 8 years, I can explain it again. What it was about the campaign against political correctness, an organisation of cross-party. Everyone, hundreds of people who were involved in it were holding up dolls, people of different ethnicities, etc. And they were talking about how the perception had changed through political correctness. Now, for Jess Phillips to say that last week, when you were discussing the fact that I just left a party that I believe has now got a leader with all the social grace, mores, and attitudes of Al-Gharavi.
We're here to talk about you, not UKIP.
Yeah, but my attitude towards leaving this Afghanistan-inspired party because of the new leadership shows that actually I might be provocative, but I'm not racist.
My point to you about that doll is, as a politician, you're a professional communicator, and you had to know that that sends out a bigger message. As a communicator, maybe your antennae should have pricked up that this was actually something that was going to land you in hot water.
Well, at the time I wasn't a politician, I was a part-time activist, and over the years I've learnt a few things and made some mistakes along the way. I'm only human, but I've always tried to
do you regret it? Should you apologise and just bury that?
I've always said that if anyone felt that was a racist gesture, that I apologise for their feelings, because it wasn't. And I've never done anything consciously to do that, because I believe in treating people on their merits.
You also called in aid Adolf Hitler when you were talking about inspiring oratory, as there was a magnetic orator. Why did you choose, for your example, arguably the most notorious war criminal of all time, when there are other great orators, like Martin Luther King, for example, who you could have called in aid?
I did actually mention him and another potential war criminal.
Well, why
in
Adolf
Tony
Hitler
Blair.
at all, then? How toxic that must have been.
Well, because when I was taught about public speaking many, many moons ago by a non-political educator, one of the things he said was, during those speeches that Hitler made, he did certain things that were good oratory. I never once said, look, just because the guy's a good communicator doesn't mean that what he's saying actually is good. I never said that. I actually said he was a good...
It's just offensive to so many people just to do it at all. It casts you in...
Should we erase history, Patrick? I believe that, you know...
I'm just suggesting that there are other more wholesome examples that could have been...
And I used all sorts of people.
So why use that one at all?
Well, he was one of a group, and the Daily Mail decided to pick on that one.
All right. You also, earlier this year, actually, appeared and spoke in support of White Pendragon, which has said some things about the Muslim community, using words that we can't use on this programme today. And frankly, the imagery there puts you in a pretty sort of rough, tough environment.
Well, that group's a constitutionalist group. If members of it have said something...
There are convicted racists in that group.
Well, look, there are convicted, or what a word to use, convicted. There are racists in lots of groups. What that group organisation actually wants is an English constitution, and that's what I was supporting. If
they're led by one, a convicted racist.
Well, look, I don't agree with that. But what I believe in is what they were saying about having an English constitution, which is a policy of the Libertarian Party as well. And that's what I'm looking at. If you just simply judge any organisation, even the BBC, with all of its thousands of people, possibly you might find someone in that organisation who said something unpleasant. It doesn't make intrinsically that organisation unpleasant.
Well, I think maybe the point we're making is that it's, to put it bluntly, it damns you by association, if I can put it that way. If you think of, for example, the Libertarian Party, which you're now joining, which sits with the far-right Alternative for Deutschland, of whom the deputy leader, Beatrix von Storch, is someone you actually invited to speak in the West Midlands. Again, I put to you, this is a far-right organisation, and it's the company that you keep which adds together to a coherent picture in the minds, maybe not just of Jess Phillips, but people in a variety of communities in this part of the world, a very diverse area where social cohesion is something that has to be taken extremely seriously and with great delicacy.
And I come from a diverse part of it. I'm from the centre of Wolverhampton originally. The Libertarian Party doesn't sit with anyone like that. The Libertarian Party in the European Parliament is me, and I sit with the EFDD group. The Alternative for Deutschland, an organisation which I think came third in the German elections, has got some members who've said some bad things. But Beatrix von Storch herself and some of the senior policy members, I think, have said some very positive things. I'm not joining them, but you've got to work alongside people. You've got to discuss things. I'll talk to anyone and discuss anything. I think that's the duty. If you talk about communication, let's talk to everyone and have an open exchange.
I've been looking at a variety of definitions of what racism is, and I've found a number of textbook definitions, but they all boil down to something like this: discrimination or antagonism directed against someone of a different race based on the belief that one's own race is superior. Now, I could suggest to you that much of what you've associated yourself with during your career defines you in that context.
Well, you could suggest...
Are you a racist?
Well, no, absolutely not. And I judge people purely on their merits, and it does not make the slightest difference to me what their faith, background or colour is. It never has. I'm from inner city Wolverhampton. Okay. You know, you can't be like that. You learn. I grew up with people from every different background. I joined the Libertarians because I believe in liberty and equality of opportunities for everyone.
Bill Etheridge, MEP, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.